people are freaked by parasites. Some are fascinated by them, even when they get too close for comfort.
Well, every evening we'd head off into the forests of Costa Rica looking for frogs to film. And every evening we'd get bitten by mosquitoes, dozens of them.
Mike Linley is a scientist and wildlife filmmaker, perfectly at home in remote locations.
But on this particular night, my shirt button popped open and a mosquito bit me just above my tummy button. But this was no ordinary mosquito. This mosquito was carrying a parasite. And I'd been back in England for about 2 weeks, and all my mosquito bites were healing up nicely and drying up, apart from one, which was just above my navel on my tummy. And I was sitting on the edge of the bed one night and looking at it, and I could see this little thing come to the surface and then shoot back down again. And I'd heard about these insects that live as larvae under your skin and feed on your flesh, and have like a little snorkel that they use to breathe with now and again. And I thought, oh, well, this is really interesting. I'll keep this. And it was great. It was called George. And whenever I went out to my friends, I used to show them my Botfly, and they would say, oh, Mike, have another potato. You're eating for two now.
Botfly is actually a maggot. When the adult female fly latches on to another fly and lays her larva or her eggs on the underbelly of that other fly, and when that other fly goes and bites a human host, the little larvae drop off her belly, and the larvae penetrate intact skin and begin to enlarge and become actual flies.
Well, I had my parasite George living inside me for several weeks, and I was quite happy with that. And I was waiting for its emergence, and I just hoped that it wouldn't arrive like the creature in Alien, where it burst out of the tummy. I just hoped it would just emerge nice and quietly, and I would see it and then say goodbye to it.
Mike was staying at a hotel when he realized that adopting a pet parasite could be a painful experience.
I doubled over in absolute agony. It was as though someone had stuck a knife into my tummy. And I thought, well, it's been nice having you, George, but enough's enough. Now you've got to go. So I rang the School of Tropical Medicine. Oh, hello. Is that the School of Tropical Medicine? And I said, look, I've just come back from Costa Rica 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've got this thing. I think it's some sort of parasitic fly, a botfly or something. Yeah. How do I get rid of it?
So what was that?
A steak.
Thank you.
And you put the raw steak over your tummy for several hours. And it has to burrow through the flesh and the fat to get to the surface to breathe. And that's when you take the steak off and you've caught the fly. Nothing happened. Disappointed, I phoned the next day.
Oh, hello. Is that the School of Tropical Medicine?
I said, look, the raw steak didn't work. What do you recommend now? And they said, oh, a big blob of Vaseline. And you maintain this big blob on your tummy, and again, the insect must burrow through it to get to the surface. So that didn't work.
Nail varnish.
And I spent hours painting layer upon layer upon layer of nail varnish on my tummy. And I went to bed, in the knowledge that the next morning it would be dead. The next morning I got up and I picked off the layers and layers of nail varnish, and I could feel it still moving.
Mike now had no other option. The botfly had to be surgically removed at the local hospital. The procedure was simple and took only 15 minutes. There was so much interest, the hospital called in a photographer to record the event. And just as Mike thought he'd finally got rid of his botfly...
Sorry?
I missed that, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Could you put him back in?
Yeah, I suppose.
Of course he agreed, just for old time's sake.
So they took George away and they preserved him in a jar of formalin, and there he is today, George.
Up next, Eaten Alive turns science fiction into science fact. Keep your legs crossed. This parasite strikes where it hurts the most.